All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate your time. It's a little bit early. It's a Friday, so we really, really appreciate you being here, you making the time. We're going to make this exciting. We're going to make it fun. I have an amazing panel here. I've been getting to know my co-panelists, and I am so excited for all of you to experience some of the wisdom and some of the fun experiences that they've been we're going to be building on for this panel. So to kick things off, we'd love for you to get to know us a little bit. So we're going to quickly introduce ourselves. We'll start with Alex, if you want to introduce yourself.
100%. Thank you for having me, Immutable X, NFT.NYC, and obviously for moderating this panel. Quick introduction about me. I'm one of the original 4 that overhauled Republic Crypto back in 2019. Since then, I've built out our research and our economics arms, and I really lead our early stage strategy. In terms of gaming and NFTs, I myself and my team have been credited with building game economies from the ground up. You guys might have heard of Zedrun, High Rise app, or sometimes the largest, second largest conglomerate in Korea, SK, or the game that has yet to come out, Star Atlas, is our teams that we've all, or economies that we've all built. And yeah, have learned a lot along the way and really excited to share.
Thank you, Alex, so much. Dej, go for it.
Yeah, so I'm Dej, one of the co-founders of 10 Tree Studios, the development team behind our flagship game, Zombie Outbreak Survival. We're currently live. We've been live for 18 months and continuously developing the game modes, and we do it through a storytelling vision of eras, and we basically tell the story of how one day you wake up and you're in a normal world, the next day you're fighting off your undead neighbors and then growing into like a desperate community trying to survive during this outbreak. So quite a cool concept. We really try and stay on the cutting edge of things. We're live on the Wax blockchain, which is an EOS derivative chain. Really fast, really scalable, and we're just trying to maintain like our foot on the gas and stay ahead of like the curve of some of the tropes in Web3. We really don't want to be copying quite a lot of people. We want to try and stay sort of first founder like movement and really, like I say, stay ahead of the curve.
Amazing. Go for it, Joerg.
Good morning. My name is Joerg Lichtenberg. I'm founder and CEO of Superfast Games. We do, big surprise, blockchain games. I've been doing Web 2 projects and app development for a very, very long time, I'd say decades actually. And Superfast Games, the first and most important game of ours is Superfast Cards. It's a collectible card game based on the Polygon blockchain, so you can actually play the NFTs, of course. And we keep it quite low and democratic. We have a 5-pack of cards for 9 Matic, which is about $10. So $2 per NFT. We are not the ones selling NFTs for 5 ETH because we want the people to collect and play them actually use them. And that's what we talk about today. So that's very interesting. And thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. And very quickly about me, I'm Mariam. I'm the founder and CEO of Breshna.io, which is a no-code platform that allows you to build your own video games without any coding. So kind of the best way to think about it is like the Canva for video games. We have around 100,000 users. We actually grew from 4,000 to 100,000 in the last 3 months. So super explosive growth. And now we're building the Breshnaverse, which is a virtual carnival where you'll be able to take the games that you've made and display them, showcase them, and monetize them. So that's kind of like the fun stuff that we've been working on. And in Breshna, you can actually upload your own avatars, your own backgrounds, and your own music. So if you have like, a cool NFT or something, I've put my own Curious Addy in my own runner rave game, like a Super Mario kind of game where I'm catching all the things that my octopus loves and dodging everything else. So really allowing people to make their own video games. So I want to dive right into this discussion. We've been talking about, how do NFTs work in video gaming? And maybe we take it at the very, very broad level and just talk a little bit about why we think that gaming could be the channel for mainstreaming NFTs as we move forward? Alex, if you want to kick that off.
Yeah, and I'll try to keep mine to really sweet, I guess, tips that have come from my years of designing game economies. Overall, like the basic premise of how I work with companies is that NFTs in games are highly underutilized. People have too often focused on the fungible tokens that they try to pump and dump on the market, and sometimes and to get around that, even sell NFTs at very high prices, mostly through Discord and Twitter shilling. My excitement going forward is based off of the following thesis, which is that NFTs, like many, if we're talking about the collectibles industry, need time and culture through its evolution. And so that's the main thing that contains value when you look across collectibles all across the traditional collectible industry, which is that all assets with value must contain history. History in addition to its utility, because it cannot attain that history without having some layer of interactivity. And that's what gaming is for me, which is an interactivity layer for these assets to build up this history, build up this chain of provenance, similar to a Stradivarius violin or a collector's baseball card. So I'm super excited in recent days about concepts of found NFTs. Basically, the idea that there are Easter eggs, but one-of-a-kind Easter eggs for certain players to find, not ones that are contrast as a complement to something that would be airdropped or something earned through progression. But it takes the sort of complementary nature of rare found icons as well as a mass distributed meta to form over the general and larger quantity of NFTs that should be in everybody's wallet. And then lastly, because of the programmability, whether it be on-chain or off-chain, of these NFTs, that's the last biggest thing I'll mention, which is the dynamicness and ability for these to virtually age over time, and have them with use become either more utilized in one game before they migrate to the other in a franchise, or to be used in another game where it might have a cameo or something of this sort. But this is what I encourage game developers to think of in terms of taking these assets to the next level, so that they can live beyond just the lifetime of one game, and importantly, as cultural icons for generations.
I love that so much, Alex. So that idea of value accrual, and I think we're literally scratching the tip of the iceberg right now with the way we see NFTs appear in games, and value accrual, history, culture, for each NFT to have that story. And I think that's where the idea of metadata comes in. And I know, Dej, we had talked a little bit about the power of that data, if you want to build on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we really aim to have a level of value that sits behind the utility, as Alex says. So we think of it more like a historical record book of what that NFT has actually achieved, or which players have used that NFT, and then you can identify if it was used in, say, a championship game or a final, or it was a weapon that was used to strike the killing blow on one of the hardest bosses and things like that. That on its own, forgetting the utility, holds value to the users. And you see it all the time, like the winning glove of a baseball game, or for the winning catch and things. They all hold value. The boxing gloves of championship winning boxers. There's no reason why we can't have that in the esports scene as well. So using the blockchain as a level of record keeping, we think is very important, and we're trying to look at how we can do that from an RPG style game that's going to live on for years and years and years. We don't want to be constantly releasing Zombie Outbreak Survival 2, 3, 4, 5. We would much rather have one solid basis game, keep those cards within the same ecosystem, and then provide content expansion packs from that. And that allows the NFTs to stay relevant and in and out of meta all the time. It provides market liquidity and people always exchanging assets to have the best gear at the time. So that's where we see it, and the metadata, in our opinion, is some of the most valuable concepts of an NFT. And definitely the players are going to start eating that up and start collecting the more rare assets and not even necessarily players, just collectors of the games. Like, we take a lot of influence from, say, like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And trading card games, where the Charizard isn't from 1999 isn't necessarily the best card now, but because it's the original and it's like got value. So we try and do stuff like that with like our main characters. So yeah, we find it very valuable.
I think with games, digital assets have always had value within games, right? And I think where we can leverage the blockchain is that record keeping, that transparency, that ability to update the metadata, that dynamism, and that interoperability between different games and that ownership. And I think most of the gaming conversation right now around NFTs is that, which is going beyond just the token and actually into where is the underlying base of utility with the NFT. Joerg, I know you've done both work on the Web 2 and the Web 3 side of digital assets in games. Would love to hear your reactions on that.
What you already said, what comes to my mind first when I think about NFTs and gaming is when we think about the analog world, it's collectibles are very, very often connected to gameplay, to gaming, like, I don't know, Magic the Gathering or even Star Wars toys. It's all, and they got a real very high value, and you could actually play with them. And of course, other collectibles are art, and art has its own track on NFTs, and that's all good. But when we started developing a game based on the Polygon blockchain 2 years ago, we decided to go on Polygon, for instance, because having this very high gas fees and very expensive NFTs at that time, you would need to necessarily spend at least an ETH on an NFT and spend, I don't know, in the end it got crazy. Remember, it was $200 gas fee. So I think it changed a lot that you got other blockchains, other opportunities. And I think that's very important to make it accessible for everybody out there. So we want NFTs that cost you $1 or 50 cents or even less, and you have like hundreds of them in a game. And I think that makes a lot of sense, and that's fun to see what's happening out there.
I think you mentioned the word accessibility, and I truly believe, I mean, there's 1 billion people around the world that are playing at least 1 hour of video games every single day, right? And I think that if we're going to see mainstream adoption of Web3, of NFTs, often gaming is the channel that is touted as the one that's going to do it. We're also seeing a bit of a backlash from within the gaming communities around blockchain and NFTs. I do want to, I think when we talk about games, I want to talk about the types of games. There's, when we saw the first wave of Web3 gaming, it was very much, deep immersive, a little bit aiming to get towards that AAA gaming, and we haven't really seen as much of the casual gaming, which a lot of people are saying is going to be the next wave. What do you think? What are your thoughts on the type of game that lends itself to NFT adoption?
I think the gaming world and the NFT world sort of fork at an important juncture between existing IP and crypto native IP, and I see both of them as places where we'll see both flourish. To what scale, I don't have the crystal ball on. But I on one hand, I trust, though it's well known that it's impossible to please gaming communities. They're probably one of the most high of standard, always complaining, always on forums, asking for this balance patch or this grind loop to be a bit more enjoyable. And that's because they really dedicate their whole escapist life to these experiences. So I think we'll always have a pushback on introducing new things to games, even from the point in which we stopped selling them in $60 copies per disc. Everything from microtransactions to memberships, they all take a lot of time, and I encourage gaming founders to have patience, even in a difficult to monetize, difficult to fundraise type of, call it studio growth environment. Now, I think crypto native games will take a completely different turn. They will be they will be centered around, and we know this about games, we can give people deliberately difficult and pointless things to do just as much as everything else in life is that pointless, if I may say. So $200 gas fees and these things of this sport, all of this is arbitrary and fine, as long as there is a group of people that can tell the story about it later. And when we're 10 years in the future, the question is what's going to have survived and what are people going to tell stories about from the Wild West of crypto native gaming. So things like Dark Forest, or I could even, though I don't really like the game, say Axie Infinity, will always have that history that somebody, if they continue to tell this story, will preserve that culture, in my opinion. Which for me is very independent from what is, just from my day at my desk, what is venture backable. But it doesn't mean any of my optimism for this culture to continue, moving forward. Yeah.
Makes 100%. Dej, do you want to build on that?
Yeah, so I definitely think that like the idle games, the lazy games, they're going to be like the mobile app store style games are going to be the next ones to give us a huge boost. Just like at this convention today, we've got the Valerian Lands game. I played that yesterday, and it's brilliant. It's a game first. The Web3 side of things comes on the back end. So I think that once we crack the code on how we can deliver Web3 gaming through the app stores without breaking their TOS, and we get the Google Play stores and the Apple Play stores on side, I think that's going to be our next like catalyst for a potential bull run in gaming on Web3 and NFTs. I think that those types of games are going to come through. How the NFTs are going to be presented in those will be through the likes of characters, cosmetics, profile like attributes that could just potentially show success or wealth in the game. So I think those games are definitely the next chapter. I would encourage all founders to continue developing out these like long-standing MMORPGs, your World of Warcrafts, RuneScapes, EVE Onlines, those types of games that could potentially last for 10, 15, 20 years, because we all love those games. And talking on culture and history of those sorts of assets, they're the best games to do that. So definitely those two genres alone. And then you look at the likes of like what EA Sports were doing with like FIFA Ultimate Team and their Ultimate Team card packages that they do. Changing those to NFTs is like a no-brainer to me. Like that just seems so obvious, although it might necessarily take some of the profits away from where like they can rinse and repeat every year. Right. Having that level of interoperability between titles will definitely be demanded by the players going forward, and I think that's going to be a cultural change that they're not going to be able to like survive without. So definitely that as well. Right. So yeah, awesome.
Amazing. And I think I just want to underscore what Dej just said was game first, Web3 in the back end.
Absolutely,
I think like this is it's going across blockchain technology. Is this idea that whatever you're building, the utility first and the technology later. We're really getting obsessed with being under the hood too much rather than the actual driving experience. I got the 5-minute signal, so Joerg, if you want to build on that, and maybe we leave a couple of minutes open for any Q&A, but go ahead.
Yeah, go quickly. But as you said, I think we've all been stuck in any Discord channels where they were having some nice-looking JPEGs and said, oh, we are building a game. And most of them never, ever ended up building a game. And if they did, let's face it, most of it was bad. So absolutely agree, game first. And it's always the gameplay first. And the second thing I'd like to say is, of course, it's always about collectibles. And you asked me about Web 2. And I think all of us, or most of us, have spent like hours and hours and hours and hours of playing games years ago on Web 2, collecting assets that were lost and gone. You don't have them anymore. And of course, NFTs is the key to actually keep your collectibles, and that's cool.
100%. Ownership, decentralization, interoperability, and the value accrual, which is, I'm going to use that so much, Alex. It's like that value accrual and just that history and culture is where we think NFTs will go in gaming. I think we have room for one question. If anyone has any one question for the panelists, or else I'll just pass it around for closing remarks. Anyone? Questions? We will pass it along. I'm assuming that is because this talk was so clear and so much fun that it's like, okay, good, no questions. So let's just do closing remarks.
I think now that I've had my mind wandering, I'm sort of thinking out loud here about what does it mean to have history. And it brings me back to my college days when I was, had coursework in the humanities. And the main thing I want to get across with history is, I think the one persevering feature about our valuation and endearment to art today is because that art has endured trauma. It has actually endured what I might go ahead and call cultural genocide because of things of industrialization, communist revolution in China, Russia, as well as the fascist regimes in Italy and Germany, which attempted to erase our classical histories. But in attacking that humanity, those that survive these wars becomes the ones that hold dearly to everything that was created before. And so, and same thing with the Renaissance after the Dark Ages. These cycles. I think one of my main troubles with the current environment is that we've entered a very bloated era and a very staggered era where the changes in the world both become oversaturated in our faces, and the traumas are spread out and perhaps not yet of great enough magnitude to have created such a severity of the cultural genocides we've had before, and to create, in this sense, a scarcity and an attack against it. I think we perhaps need something of this sort, though it seems a bit cynical and a bit extreme to say, for our era to be written in the history books and prevail as with a religious following from future generations.
I love that. So we need an attack to enhance our creativity because we're staggering.
It's fine if it's the
Yeah.
SEC.
Right. Whoever the bad guy is, we need a bad guy. Okay. Tej.
Well, I hope it's not us. Yeah, so I'd just say, obviously, users, founders, and everyone in between, during this time that we're really facing a level of hardship through this sort of crypto downturn, although the graphs are looking green the last couple of days, I would definitely say have patience, stick with the brands that are showing continued growth, continued development, and always delivering on what they said they would do, whether that be early, late, or on time. Definitely, I think the time of just jumping in the latest product that are promising the best returns is over. And now it's time to focus on the brands that have already started delivering and then back those guys. They're going to be the brands that last through Web3, NFTs, and everything in this industry. So stick with those guys. They will be okay.
Okay, keep it very, very short. I'm just so excited to see what's coming next and what's coming up. It's possibilities are endless. There's so many creative, cool people in this space. So I'm really looking forward to what's coming. And I think time is really over now.
Yeah, thank you so much once again, everyone. Thank you, Alex, Tej, and Joerg, for sharing your experience. Super fun conversation. Thanks for being game, guys. Thank you so much for being here.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.